Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Seawall, checking in, as I love to do, to give you all of the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. Welcome to the Bowie television station, you all. Hopefully, you're subscribed. Hopefully, you're a returning visitor. If not, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and make sure you tell all of your family and friends in the Bowie and surrounding areas that Bowie television covers the Washington Commanders, Baltimore Ravens, and so much more that's happening in and around the city of Bowie, Maryland. Let's jump right on into it. Welcome to NFL Week 1. So I decided to jump on to make sure we could already kind of just lead up to NFL Week 1. The Commanders have practice starting at 1 o'clock this afternoon each day, headed down to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers in Week 1. And as always, we have much to discuss. So, you all, I don't want to belabor it, right? The 53 has been set. Last week, there was a press conference with head coach Dan Quinn and general manager Adam Peters. It's a lot that goes into the creation of the active roster and then the practice squad. Definitely drop in the comments, or if you're yelling at your TV right now, make sure you are able to comment and say, were there any surprises for you in the active roster and who made the practice squad? I think I saw a few fans comment that they were surprised about KJ Henry. He's been picked up by the Cincinnati Bengals, and there were a few others as well. Let's just say this. I don't think the Commanders offseason and preseason has been boring by a long shot. This team has continued to say they're going to do all they can to get better. They're going to keep digging for talent, and we've seen them do that. We've seen them make a couple of trades, right, for a kicker. We knew the kicker situation was suspect. We talked on the last episode about the future of wide receiver Jahan Dotson, who is now a Philadelphia Eagle, still within the division, but no longer a Commander. Things have changed. Things have changed, and it sounds like there will continue to be changes along the way. So let's get right on into it, shall we? I'll go into, and some of these, just to be totally transparent with you all, because you know I love to be that as well. I'm just going to start rolling with some of these clips and then giving you all some of my insights so that you kind of can reflect back and say, oh, okay. You all know we use our clues around here. So let's hop right into it, starting back from last week's press conference with Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. Hey, there you all. I had to, but it's fine. So
we'll allow your two, Candi. You've earned it.
No, I'll just
always overruling Sean.
Yes, I'm always overruling Sean. So easy to do. Anybody else want two more?
So you all have mentioned recalibrating as well as win now. So what does that look like from a season perspective? Do you look at the season of like, hey, we're definitely trying to make the playoffs. Let's try to get at least 10 wins at 7. What does it look like? Just for you all's perspective right now in current state, what does that look like for you all?
Yeah, I think I can answer that one first, and I'll kick it over to Adam. The win now is not way down the line. It's not this, the end of the season, and I get that's what a lot of people want to do. But I think we'll miss everything if we do that and look to what's down the line as opposed to like, how do we just go and keep attacking it, keep getting better. It's our division, all of that. And so if we do what we're capable of doing and play the way that we want to play, we'll be really proud of those results. But to say where it's going to be so far down the line, not interested in that. Just want to see how good we can get and then do it again and do it again. And if we do those over and over, there'll be some really cool things that'll come from that.
Yeah, that's my answer too. No, it's really just getting better every day, and the rest will take care of itself.
So what I took away from that, you all, was the notion around consistency. You all maybe have heard me mention on previous episodes the desire to see that consistent performance. I may have shared this when I was a guest on First String Podcast. Shout out to that, my First String Podcast family, as well as my Fox Sports 1340 AM family as well, always colleagues and good folks of Bowie Television, where it's really about the consistency in performance. And I think Dan Quinn shared that very well. Hey, if you just do it over and over and over again. So the notion around relentlessly competing. So they're not really trying to say, yes, we're making we're trying to make the playoffs or anything like that out loud. Of course, we're going to keep using our clues because I definitely have thoughts on that. But they want to compete. And nobody wants to lose. And this is something that we talk about all the time when we have conversations around draft picks and number 1 pick, number 2 pick. I do not think the Washington Commanders have any desire to pick in the top 5 anytime in the near future, unless they come up on a trade or something of that notion. I do not think they have a desire to say, yeah, let's try for the number 1 or the number 2 or number 3, 4, 5 pick again, because then that is a reflection of your record. And I remember years ago, when Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, I think, was either talking to Chase Young or we're talking about Chase Young, and said he would never get the opportunity to pick someone at number 2 because his teams don't perform that bad to pick at number 2. So let's be clear about something. I don't think there's a desire to do that again. So let's keep moving on to some of the clips. But just keep that in mind. No, they're not committing to 7, 10, making the playoffs or anything like that. But I don't think anybody's going into this season and say, hey, let's find a way to pick in the top 5 in the NFL draft next year. It is definitely, win now, do as much as you can, compete relentlessly, play hard. And hopefully that's what we'll able to see. Of course, for all teams, barring any injury, but nobody's going in this trying to lose you all. Let's move on to the next clip. I know these last couple of days have been tough for players, families, yourselves, so I really just want to know how you all are doing.
Well, we appreciate that. It's hard for us, but nothing compared to the guy that sits across from us in those seats. And I think that's what maybe was so remarkable for some of those guys to reach out and want to connect with us, knowing that they really want to be a part of this locker room, Candi. And I think what a cool compliment to the players who are in that locker room. That's who they play for, one another. And so to have that experience of wanting to be here so significantly, that means a lot. And I think what a cool compliment to those guys in the locker room.
Yeah, I'd agree. It is hard for us, but it's definitely harder for the players. But it's hard for everybody in the building because you develop relationships with all these guys. And I commend everybody in the building for handling it with class, everybody who was part of the operation, because there's a lot of people involved in that, from support staff to coaches and really everybody in terms of getting all that handled in a first-class manner. And we appreciate the players the most for handling it in a first-class manner and handling it the way they did, and appreciate everything they've done out there, and a lot of them what they'll continue to do out there.
Listen, I really wanted to ask that question because on the outside looking in, it's like you just go on about your day. For the inside, it is life-altering, making the team and not making the team. It's devastating, quite frankly, when a player finds out that they have not made the team, especially when everybody's working hard. And the reality is there's only so many roster spots, right? Only so many practice squad spots. And the competition is vast. It's a lot of competition, a lot of great players, not as many roster spots. So if you haven't already, check out on the Bowie TV YouTube The undrafted free agent Tyler Owens. You all have heard me talking about Tyler Owens. If you follow me at all at Seaball SE, you see me posting about him. Shout out to my Commanders media colleague, David Harrison. He was the first person to really call out Tyler Owens in practice. We hadn't even gotten to preseason game 1 yet. And David Harrison was like, that kid is going to make this team, because he is just showing the epitome of what Dan Quinn is talking about when he talks about relentlessly competing. So it's a great moment for players like himself and others as well, of course. But for those that didn't make it in their families, it is tough. And everyone builds relationships with them from, of course, like as Adam Peters said, inside the walls, going to us as media. You build a relationship with these folks. And so we wish them all the best and all very well and much success. It is not the environment where it's like when they go to another team, they're automatically the enemy. No, this is business. It's an industry. It's a network. And so all the best to those that made it, of course. Congratulations, and then all the best and all the wishes and great fortune to those that did not. Moving on to another press conference that happened last week with Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark. I had a question for Lance. And I'm going to give you, again, in using your clues, some background why I asked this question right after we watched the clip. Hi there, Lance.
Hi.
Candi Waller with Bowie TV. And forgive me if this question was already asked. I came in a bit tardy to class today. So when you talk about the type of players that fit this organization and the scheme and everything, what are some of the intangibles that you all are looking at with kind of the ideal player for this organization?
I mean, I feel like at their core they have to love football, and they have to love to work, and they have to love to be in the building. It's not just game day; it's a process, and they have to love the process. It's not for everyone. This is a demanding environment, and it's a team environment. It's not. It's about winning games as a team, and about working hard together. And I think those are the core traits that we look for, people that love football, that love to be around each other and love to work.
I felt like this was very important to ask the question. And I wanted to pressure test using my clues assumption that I had. And that was simply that I'm looking at a group of people that love football. I'm talking about from the players to the coaches to the support staff. These folks love football. And I so appreciated Lance mentioning that it's so much more than just game day. This is a process. I absolutely love the fact that he mentioned this is not for everybody. He's right. He is right. There's a lot of sacrifice physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. Your time is spent doing this. And I really wanted to highlight that because at your core, this sport is rough. You all have heard me say this in previous episodes. This is a brutal sport. It's a sport that's tough anyway. Let me be clear. It's not just football. It's other sports as well, right? Because I've had conversations with colleagues and I'm like, whoa, the best NBA schedule, MLB schedule, whoa, just all the things, training for the Olympics, soccer, you name it, right? At your core, people that love football, that's an intangible. And as we are into now the beginning of NFL Week 1, I think one of the things I hope comes across, I believe it comes across, but on Sunday, everyone watching will say, "Ooh, these people love football, don't they? Wow, they love it." Important, because the intangibles are important. Yes, they're looking at stats, absolutely. But when we talk about character and who you want to be a part of your team, they're absolutely looking at intangibles and loving the process. Because see, with it comes fame. With it comes popularity. With it comes money. But this process here is different. And you absolutely got to love it. So that's the background on why I asked that question. And you all keep that in mind when you're watching the players and watching the coaching staff and watching how folks move. Are they showing that they love the process? Because game day is just kind of like the end of the process for that week. And then the process starts all over again. So you got to be really into it and really bought in to really be like, hey, this person loves what they do. Let's move on to the next clip, because look, can you tell that I love what I do? I do. So let's move on, because I'm already having too much fun. And I do have to get the Ashburn, just being real honest with you. So let's move on to the next clip.
Hey, Dan. I wanted to ask you about team captains. Have you decided on who they're going to be, and what's your process for naming them?
We'll be using game captains. And I'll also utilize a group of some leaders that will be kind of with me on some decisions that or emphasis that I want to make with the team. But we'll pick game captains until the postseason, and then we'll pick postseason captains that'll be throughout.
So when you say game captains, each game a different guy will wear the C on his chest?
They won't wear it, but they'll be a captain.
All right, here we go. Favorite part of the day, everybody. Woo! Use your clues. All right. Who caught it? Did anybody catch it? Drop it in the comments if you caught it. And if you're yelling at the TV right now, let me know that you caught it. Because, you've already got a plan for what's going to happen in the postseason, do ya? Sure does sound like a head coach that's making plans for the long haul. Yes. And I absolutely believed him when he answered my question of how they're looking at the season and they're dealing with this week and they're focusing on the opponent for this week. I absolutely believe that. But hey, I absolutely also believe in speaking things into existence and manifestation, and of course, prayers and planning accordingly. So they already have a plan for game captains, and it's already going to look a little different when they make the postseason, because I heard a win. I didn't hear an if. I heard a win. So that at least lets me know, you do indeed have aspirations to make it into the postseason. That's all I needed to know. Use your clues. Always going to help everyone, including myself, to use those clues. And I actually think it's pretty cool that they're using game captains. They actually took the same approach during the preseason, and I really thought that was cool. So I am definitely looking forward to that, to seeing who the game captains are and kind of the reasoning behind each one of those game captains. That's going to be very, very cool. Let's move on to the next clip.
Two of the guys you guys brought in the offseason for the offense, Austin and Zach, what have you seen from each one of them specifically? And, Zach seems to feel he's in the best, he feels as good as he has in a long time. Yeah,
we've been very intentional about him, and we have to actually protect Zach from Zach. Like he just ready to go and wants more and more. The thing that I've been impressed with in the passing game, especially as it gets down to the red zone, John, that's, I think, where Zach comes alive the most. He's got just feel and eyes. He's able to share that information. And when you can share feedback with teammates, with coaches, hey, I can see Luvu's alignment, what that means. You can see how valuable that would be. Austin, I knew, was a really good pass catcher. I probably didn't know how strong he is. He is, you would think he's a small back. He is strong. And pound for pound, probably our strongest player. So there's not a spot that you couldn't put him in to say, hey, he couldn't go into protect or that. But I was impressed by his ability to be outside. I knew he could catch out of the backfield, but using him outside at slot, that was better than I expected.
So a few fans have asked me about Austin Ekeler and overall the running backs. And so a couple of weeks ago now, I asked offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury about the running back room. And I want to share this with you all in case you missed this press conference. Coach, what are your overall thoughts on the running back room right now?
Really excited. Austin Ekeler has been fantastic. I think there was a narrative out there that maybe he lost a step or something was off, and that's couldn't be farther from the truth from what I've seen from him and his ability, whether it's in the pass game or run game, to create separation and make plays. And then B-Rob he's a number one back in this league. There's no doubt. I mean, I think after this season, if he stays healthy, people will recognize what he can do in the run game and the pass game. And some of those young guys are coming on. And then to have Coach Lynn coaching that room, working with those guys, who's been a head coach, who's been an offense coordinator, it's been fantastic to watch that group grow.
A lot. And I think we've all, I know myself, right? It talked so much about the wide receivers, Jayden Daniels, the offensive line. I do not want anyone to lose sight of how impressive it is to have a former head coach being your running backs coach, a position coach with this team. Want to echo what head coach Dan Quinn said about Austin Ekeler, as well as what offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury said as well. And it was great for Cliff to kind of already proactively say, hey, I think there's a narrative out there that he might have lost a step. That's not true. And so let's go ahead and dispel these myths early on. Dan Quinn calling Austin one of the strongest player on the team. Because of his size, you may not think that, but I've been out there. Yes, indeed. I totally, as soon as he said it, it absolutely resonated. So lots to come there for those that are kind of reconnecting or refamiliarizing themselves with Austin Ekeler. Brian Robinson Jr. For offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury to say, it's the number one back in this league. I have told people who have asked me fantasy football advice, said if you can draft B-Rob, go ahead and do that. Think that'll be a differentiator for your fantasy football team. As Zach Ertz as well. Zach Ertz, when we talk about, and this is for all the folks that I'm naming, but when we talk about someone who loves the process, loves football, wow. Zach Ertz is not looking like he's been in the league for over a decade. He is looking like he is just refreshed and revitalized and ready to rock at all times. I think you all will be very, very happy that Zach Ertz is on this football team. Let's move on to the next clip, shall we?
And then with Coleman working his way back, how did he look today, and kind of what's your?
Yeah, I spent just a moment with him after practice because he, was able to do quite a bit yesterday, and then today padded to go. So he was good. I asked him if anything was guarded. He said, "No, man, I'm good to go." He felt strong. He felt good. So I'm pleased that we're leaving the camp spot, in good health, and that's the goal that you want as the coach and Adam and I to say, you leave training camp, with a healthy team. We were certainly disappointed that Jordan, was injured, but he's going to be back, and no one else is into that space. So that's exciting, Nikki, because that's not the easiest thing to do. You're trying to be tough. You're trying to establish that it's this razor thin line to make sure that the team's healthy, and you also have to put in work. You have to build some resilience, and so that's the fine line that you go with. And I'm just constantly looking at the team, where they're at. There was a few days I pushed a little more. A couple days I, might have turned the dial back without them knowing. But they deserve this break too to reset, and we'll come out flying. Okay.
So this was again last week, closing out before everyone went on a few days break, which we all needed. I know I did. So check out Media Scrum with Brandon Coleman on Bowie TV YouTube channel. That is there as well for you all to take a look at and hopefully enjoy. You all have heard me talk a lot about Brandon Coleman. And I think what is a key point, again, wanting to stress what Dan Quinn is saying, we're talking about knock on all the wood, prayers up, and all the things. A team that's healthy. Right. We know that Brandon's had some nicks here and there. Yes. They're upset that Jordan was, got injured, but he will be back, as Dan Quinn said. So good spot. And a good spot always starts with health. Because one of the best abilities is availability. So this team is looking at folks that are available. So let's move on to the next clip.
Because they were too afraid to ask. Johnny Newton, where's he at?
Yeah, so Johnny's doing good. That's okay. I like it. Today's kind of fun. The part for Johnny, he's the change of direction, the speed is good. I think you'll probably see him back into these practice reps coming up beginning into next week, and then we'll have a better estimation if he's ready to play, depending on how much practice he gets in. He's chomping at the bit, much like Coleman was. Coleman was just a little further along, different injury, obviously, but it's not far, and I'm excited to get him back into the mix. He's definitely wanting to do that. We're just not going to miss a step with him, Ben.
I mean, all I have are 2 thumbs up on that one. That's all. And again, going back in years past, right, where it's always so much talk in the preseason and training camp around the defensive line and not seeing it. This some things have changed. Defensive line, Daryl Tapp, starting with him. Then the additions of Dorrance Armstrong, Cleflin Ferrell, and Johnny Newton, right? I mean, we're talking about animals out there when it's time to rock. And that, coupled with a Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, who we've seen, we know, right? We've seen them have explosive years. I mean, Jonathan Allen is a Pro Bowler. Let's just be real about it now, y'all. He is a Pro Bowler. And so we put them all together, and it's like, whoa, look at all that we have here. And, Deron as well. We know that he's played in the Pro Bowl. And so let's just see how it all maps up when they're going against a team that's not theirs. Right? It's a lot to look forward to. And so in playing these clips, I'm reminding you all of all the things to look forward to for Sunday, because it's definitely stuff to look forward to. Let's move on to the next clip.
Dan, I know you know this because you've been around the block a few times, but the coach wants to win every game on the schedule.
Yes.
There's no building. The front office is thinking further down the road. How does that kind of push-pull manifest itself specifically with this group, with a potential franchise quarterback, knowing there'll be growing pains, but you got a game in 8 days?
Yeah, I think you may or may not have heard me say this, but we're a developmental staff. And so that means for every player, how far can we take them? And there's going to be some players that are early into their careers, and in the years ahead, we're going to say, I remember that guy was a rookie. He was good then. And there'll be some players on this rookie class that will be that. It takes some lumps, like you said, to go through some growing pains when you're playing for the first time in the NFL against people that have played 5, 10 years. So you have to live through those, but it's also how you learn. And my experience has been when you put those guys and you put their feet to the fire, by the time November hits, they've been in those fights, they've built that resilience, and they keep going. And so it's an important part of it. But our development here isn't just with the young players. And so the way I explained it to the team, we call it EPP. It's before practice, after practice, kind of like scaffolding on a building. You put it up, you keep working, and then pretty soon you take the scaffolding off, and here's your building, and you got work, and you got good stuff to do that. And so that's where I think we're starting to take this scaffolding off, and then you keep digging in on the next thing. And but I don't really think about too far down the road. Just how do we go win this week and find the matchups in this game, and then do it again. And then if you keep doing that enough, the results will take care of itself.
And so Dan Quinn is repeating toward the end of his response there what he shared with me last week, right? Wanting to repeat it. That's that notion around consistency in performance. I want to go back to what he was sharing about this rookie class, which you all have heard me say, that this rookie class really does exemplify what this team wants to be known for. What this team, what this organization, what the identity, who they want to be. I always say, who do you want to be when you grow up? Right? I mean, not to say anybody needs to grow up, but it's just a figure of speech. I've been impressed with this rookie class. And it's interesting, right? Not to bring up old stuff, but when we kind of look at the list of cuts and those who made the practice squad, okay, well, last year's rookie class and what happened, it didn't fare as well, right? Maybe they'll fare better even while on practice squad. Maybe perhaps they'll fare better with this coaching staff. But just last year and now there's a huge difference. But with this rookie class, it also sets a bar very, very high of what the expectations are in being able to perform coming in the door. So excited for everyone to see the rookies that end up playing, for you all to see some of this game day action. I think, and I'm hoping it's a good watch, and it's good watch. It's week 1, and one thing I want to bring up as well, and if you've watched Jayden Daniels' press conference at the end of last week as well, they mentioned the term growing pains. They're already talking about it. They're already acknowledging and proactively preparing the fan base for these growing pains, for these bumps in the road. And I'm going to do my part in trying to remind everyone as well that a thing that Dan Quinn has shared with us, therefore publicly, is they're setting Jayden up, therefore the rest of the rookies in the team, for a remarkable career, not just a remarkable game. So it's going to be some lumps. I think Jayden even said, hey, just ask it for patience. I mean, he's a rookie. A good one. But still, it gets a little different once it's game time in the NFL against, like I said a moment ago, a team that's not yours. Moving on to the next clip.
So, Coach, you said that you told the players to take a little break. Will you take a mental break because it's a long season? Or are you charging ahead for get ready for Tampa?
No, I'll try to as well. And I think when you get to the end of camp or the end of any moment, you're tired. So the first thing that I do is an after action about almost every portion of the things that we do. So like, for instance, the hiring process, and then into free agency, and then into the draft, into the mini camp. So after all those are completed, I write those up, what we'd like to see different. I did the same thing, over the last few days of a training camp. What were the markers that I wanted to see? Did we meet those? So then when you get into the 2025 off season, now you have a reference to go back to. So what did we do last year? So before I'm able to clear my head and look forward, I do have to look back and find out what I liked, what went well, and what I'd like to see different in next year's camp or next year's travel or whatever that looks like. And so that's my last piece before I get to turn the page into Tampa, because I wanted to make sure this week was still about us and our team. And then Monday we'll begin Tampa fully in the preparation. So sometimes you can start too early on an opponent and you can overcook it. And I wanted to make sure, our normal flow of a work week is Monday to the game, and we'll stay in that process, as long as we can, because that process is the same every week. So I don't want to have, prepare 3 weeks for one team and 1 week for another. Like, this is how we get down all the time.
Listen, that's it in a nutshell, and continuing on with this notion as well. And before we wrap up, let's go ahead and get into the last clip for this episode.
So in turning the pages also, when you look at this team overall going into the first season, part of the season in the first game, is this team where you thought it would be, or is this ahead of the game?
That's a good question. I think we're probably further ahead in some areas. We really pushed a lot of the situations, so we could be at our best in the end of the half and the end of the game. So going in, I thought that would be one of the hardest things that we'd have to do, because I just wanted to constantly challenge the guys. Could we be at our best at the end of the half and the end of the game? And so they were really down for that. They were ready to be pushed in that space, and we've really responded. So I say we're probably further along in that space the one that you worry about as a coach, probably, if you ask the other 31, the line of scrimmage, for the big guys, because it's not throwing and catching and things that you can do without it. So usually the line of scrimmage play just kind of keeps improving, the run game, the run defense. And so those are some of the things that I worry about every year, but I think we're further along than I probably anticipated in some spots.
So you all, with that, again, welcome to NFL Week 1. Now you might be shocked because I haven't gone through the whole projection of the season. I haven't. We haven't done. Normally in the past I would call all my colleagues. I'm not going to sell, and maybe I'm shocked from last season. Maybe I'm really just like, look, y'all. The last season was way worse than anybody imagined. That was really bad, and so I've learned in evaluation, you're really not going to know what your investment looks like on your draft picks. I know I have high hopes, from what I've seen so far from this rookie class, but you really have to look at the career. You really have to look after the season and say, hey, did this go well? And I'm going to be honest with you too. When I look at the division, and some of you all may have seen me ask this question online, which was, NFC East fans, how you feeling? Like, how you think your team is going to do? And a lot of people are like, I don't no idea. And I'm like, okay. So other people are actually seeing, I know what I'm saying, and it's like nobody knows. Right? It's nothing that just is like, boom, this is exactly what the NFC East is going to look like. Now, I think that overall, from an NFC East perspective, the overall respect for the NFC East is back, and I do think it will remain stamped. It will not be the NFC least. I do not believe. But when we really start getting into each team and then thinking about the league overall, I mean, every season is just so many changes that it's kind of like, well, what can we do? What is this? Not what can we do, but how can we affect? And we know that it's good for business to try to do season predictions. I absolutely know that. I absolutely do. But at the same token, I have to also give my expertise and be correct. But can we effectively evaluate when there's still so many changes happening on each one of these rosters? And then you really don't know what the season is going to look like. Around week 4 or 5 is when I kind of have my decision on what we're watching here, on what is really happening here. And you still don't know. So some of the things that I'm always going to be looking for, and you all, if you've watched previous episodes, this about me. I'm always looking for progress. If it was a problem during training camp, I do not want to see this problem consistently during the regular season. I definitely don't want to see it in the postseason, but you absolutely do not want to see it in the regular season. So that's going to be something I'm looking for, just overall progress. Is the team getting better? Are individual players getting better? What's happening? I'm going to be looking at just overall preparation. Does this team look like they are prepared for their opponent? Do they look like they're ready to play football? Do they look like they're relentlessly competing? Do they look like they knew it was a football game that day? Things like that. I'm going to be looking for that. I'm going to be looking at the return specialist. Who will it be? And this could change throughout the game. It could change throughout the season. But whomever they deem the return specialist, is this someone that is able to give the offense prime field position so that they have a shorter way to go to get to 7? I'm going to be looking for disruption on the defense. Are you being disruptive? Pass breakups are cool. They're nice. They're fantastic. But unless you, as a defensive player, have the football in your hand in order to give it back to your team's offense, what did you really do? I'm going to be looking for tackling. And you might say, well, they've been tackling since they were kids, Candi. Come on. But no. The least bit of missed tackles, the better tackle. Going to be looking at that. I'm going to be making, hey, I gotta watch the kicker. You know, the kicker situation has not been the best around these parts. So are you making the extra point? Are you able to seal the deal in a win when the game comes down to needing that field goal? I'm going to be looking for that. I'm going to be looking for creativity. I'm going to be looking for, hey, are they changing up? Are they adjusting to what is happening in real time? Are they adjusting series to series? Are they adjusting quarter to quarter? Are they adjusting half to half? I'm going to be looking for that. And I'm just going to be looking for and just listening to what is the overall feeling and vibe toward this team. We know that Jayden is getting a lot of compliments, as he should be, since preseason. But how does that hold up? I'm going to be watching him and how he deals with adversity. We're going to be watching and trying to see how this offensive line holds up. Lots to watch. So I would rather rattle off all those things of what I'm looking for versus season predictions, simply because we do not know. And that's real. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not about to come out here and gas y'all about a whole bunch of, they're going to win this and do that. No, we're not even going to waste our time like that. But we are going to tell you what we're looking for and what we're going to be analyzing, and that we're going to be picking up on and using our clues. And I'm going to be looking to see if something is starting to go awry in a position group or something, hey, did you do what needed to be done to get better? So those are just some things I rattled off. Now I think I need to make my way to Ashburn. Listen, I'm going to be doing this more often. I am going to be on a range of shows. Nonetheless, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for keeping up with me. Stay tuned. Bowie Television on Verizon Fios Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity Channel 77. If you are in the Bowie, Maryland, and surrounding areas, proximity, you should be able to get both of the channels. YouTube, subscribe, thumbs up, and tell your family and friends. So much more on this channel. It's not just sports. We have a ton of information and content at your disposal, and we certainly hope that you are using it and watching it and enjoying it. So you all, we are here, and you all will be seeing a lot more of me. So I'll be talking to you all again soon.